Hey everyone, I'm Matt Everhart, driver for Grid Kings and member of the Kinda Fast IRX group. This week, we're at Atlanta Long, a track introduced back in 2018 Season 3 that has quickly become one of the favorites on the Rallycross calendar, except for a few quirks that we'll get into. In this track tutorial, we'll go over a standard lap at Atlanta Long, then we'll go over the Joker lap, and then hit on some things that you'll run into in the race. This track, along with its short counterpart, has a few distinct features. A banked hairpin that we've been calling the donk slide, an interesting start on the grid, a pretty dangerous Joker exit, and a very tough final corner just before the jump. So, without further ado, let's jump into Kevin Carlisle's Subaru for a lap around Atlanta Long. We'll take a look at the full lap, then we'll go over it turn by turn. And there you have it, a lap around Atlanta Long. Kevin ran a 45.273, which is pretty quick around here. He's using the baseline setup that we have available on the forums. We're doing the Subaru this week, but your braking points and the line you want to take is going to be the same across all three cars. Track temp right now in this was 111, which is not uncommon for Atlanta. Atlanta runs really hot, so there's not a lot of grip here. So let's go back and take a look at the whole lap. Coming down the straight after the jump, you want to keep it close to the wall on your left. First braking point right here. So if you look, there is a little divot in the wall right here. You can actually see where this little connecting road comes off to the left. This is going to be your braking point right here. Kevin gets on relatively hard. Don't get on too hard. Locking your brakes up in these cars is the worst thing in the world you can do. You completely lose stability. You blow your corner. There's almost no way to recover from it. So come over here, hit the brakes, slowing down. This section right here is very, very important. You want to straighten this out as much as you can on the grass here. You want to ride this curve. You want to get as close to this tire barrier as possible. You come right here, and then you want to get as close to this tire barrier as possible. This whole thing right here, you want to just straighten out. Take a look at it. Full speed from the braking point. So Kevin gets on the brakes, a little bit of turn in, back on the gas, straightening it out. While he's turning in, I want you to notice his braking right here. He bleeds off the brake and back onto the gas right around this first tire barrier. You want to be on the gas somewhere between these two right here. Kevin is in fourth gear, I believe, right now. I'm pretty sure he's in fourth gear. Of course, I can't see the gear, but he should be in fourth. Yep, he's in fourth, and he goes back up to fifth when he starts getting back on the gas. You want to minimize your wheel spin right here. So go up a gear, won't have as much wheel spin. Go into this next corner. We're going to brake like right at the end of the curb right here. On the brakes, pretty hard, about 50% brake. And he's going to, wrong way. He is going to keep it as close as he can to this turn, to this curb right here. On the brake, bleeding off the brake, back on the gas, and you can ride this curb right here. You won't get a penalty for cutting the course. You can, I mean, I've taken this lap right here when I've completely blown this corner. But you want to bleed off the brake, slowly get back on the gas, because if you get on too hard, you're going to swing it out here completely blow your entrance to the next turn. Back on the gas. And your braking point for this next one is going to be right before this tire barrier right here, right this gravel connecting road. I'm going to turn it in, keep it tight, ride this curb again, get onto the grass. If you're not putting too much inputs in when you touch the grass, it's not going to unsettle the car very much. If you're on the brakes hard or on the gas hard and you touch grass, instant instability, the rear is going to kick out. So let's take a look at his far chase cam. On the brakes, getting back on the gas. Just a little bit of gas though. You don't want to get too overzealous. Just a little bit of gas goes a long way. You want to cut it close here. Kevin's off a little bit, but you can cut it pretty damn close to this tire barrier right here. Now, this next turn is unlike anything on the Rallycross calendar. It is insane. This is my favorite part of the track. This is just about everyone I talk to's favorite part of this track. These turns need to be on every track. So, this is one of the only corners in Rallycross to where a handbrake is a good idea. You can take this turn without a handbrake. You can substitute handbrake by just giving it a lot of brake and hoping the car turns. But a handbrake is a good idea. If you don't have, I use a joystick as a handbrake that I have matched with a handbrake. You can use a button on your wheel. If you've got a clutch that you're not using in Rallycross, you can use the clutch. Doesn't need to be a little handbrake, or doesn't need to be an extended amount of time you need to hold it down or anything. It is a quick snap of the handbrake. You'll see the yellow bar on the brake right here when he pops the handbrake. But he gives it a little bit of gas. Back on the brakes, see where he's at. Not really a good marker. You'll get to end up feeling it eventually. You'll feel when the car needs to turn to the right. But as soon as he starts turning to the right, he gets on the brake, just gives it a little bit of handbrake. Just a smidgen, just a flick of the handbrake. And since he's already turning to the right, he's already got the car going to slide to the right by hitting the brake. Once he pulls that handbrake, it's going to swing the rear out. And when that happens, it is so tempting to go full Chem Block Gymkhana and floor it. This is the worst place on the track to do that. You want to give it just a little bit of throttle. You want to keep the tires moving and not just sitting there spinning. You want to keep as much grip as possible in all the dirt sections in Rallycross, but especially here, because if you floor it and you start sliding, you will end up in this wall over here. So, little flick, little bit of gas, little bit of gas. Be patient. Be super patient. It is so easy to get overzealous here. You see he cuts it close to this first wall right here. Hitting these concrete walls right here is a death sentence. If you hit this concrete wall, you are sitting in the track right here. If anyone's behind you, they have no choice but to just bulldoze you. So if you mess up here and you've got a lot of people behind you, be prepared for a couple impacts. But he keeps it right about 50% throttle. He's probably about 40% here. A little bit more throttle. In third gear. As soon as he gets past here, he puts it into fourth. Let's see this in the cockpit camera. A little bit of handbrake. Patient, 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 patient. Puts it in fourth, starts turning to the right, puts it in fifth. You want to have a higher gear in the dirt sections than you would in the asphalt, because higher gear means more grip, and there's a ton of torque down there, and it's really good for these dirt sections. So you see Kevin is making his way to that concrete wall. You want to keep it tight, keep it tight. You see he's increasing the throttle as he's straightening out, because he's in fifth gear and he's got the grip. So probably about 70% throttle this year. Going around, increased throttle. He floors it for just a second. And you see he's getting a little bit close to this wall right here. His current trajectory is going to get him real close there. He just lets off the brake just for a second to make sure he doesn't hit that wall. Oh my God, look how close he is. That's what you want to do right there. You want to bring this around as like it's a decreasing radius turn. Flick it to the left, give it some throttle, get in close, and then right as soon as you get to the straight here, it is possible, I missed, it is possible to floor it right here. There's arguably enough grip to do it. You might gain half a tenth, but especially right now since the track is slick, there's not a lot of grip there. I wouldn't do it the first couple laps. But you're going to swing out wide right here. You definitely want to stay away from this downhill grass right here, because if you hit this downhill grass, you're going to be on the throttle. The rear is going to want to kick out. Your left front wheel will be up in the air, and it is really easy to, when you come back on the road, you just start spinning to the left, and that concrete wall is a death sentence. So let's go over this whole corner full speed. Comes out of the donk slide, 4th gear, flicks it to the left, 5th gear, decreasing radius, get close to that wall, give it gas on the pavement, floor it. So once we are here, we're going to go up to 6th, and you'll see these orange cones up here. There's 3 or 4 of them. The second to last one is going to be your braking point. You're going to go down this wall, get close to that left wall so you can get a really good turn in here. Then this orange cone right here is going to be your braking point. Kevin brakes a little bit before here, just to be safe, because blowing this corner and coming in too hot, you lose a ton of time. This turn is so tricky. It's definitely not as tricky as the donk slide, but it is really easy to blow this turn. I cannot tell you how many times I have completely blown this turn. I was just in a race with Kevo like an hour ago, and I blew this turn, and that's where he passed me. He brakes a little bit before the orange cone. You can get away with braking at the orange cone, especially if it's colder temperatures and you have more grip. But especially now that we're sitting at 111, braking before is the safe thing to do. You won't lose time. If you're not desperate to catch somebody, I would definitely brake before this orange cone. But braking at the orange cone, not a whole lot. He starts off with 30-40% brake, increases a little bit as he's downshifting, goes down to 4th. You want to cut this corner right here. Here's your apex. You do not want to go to the right of the apex. That's more downhill grass. You'll drop a wheel, unsettles the car. No bueno. So you want to hit that apex. Kevin misses it just by a hair. I mean, you can get pretty darn close in there. But you come over here and you want to diamond this turn. Diamonding the turn is when you hit that first apex, you swing out wide in the middle of the turn, and then you hit your second apex. So, wrong way. We are going to hit that apex, bleed off the brake. He drops it down to 3rd right here. Dropping a gear while you're braking, it will transfer the weight to the front wheels, give you a little more grip. Your turn in will be better. It's a good idea for tight corners like at Daytona Short in the concrete section and all that fun stuff. So he drops it down to 3rd just for a little bit, gives it a little bit of gas, settles the car, even the weight again, and then he gives a brake right here, especially with this transition. A little bit of brake while you're on the asphalt will transfer the weight to the front, gets weight off the back because you want to start to slide again. So you give it some brake, car gets turned sideways, start giving it gas. He goes right back up to 3rd, right back up to 4th rather, right before he gets to the dirt section. 4th, and apex right there. Now, I know there's been a lot of talk about Sonoma and the grass at Sonoma, in the sweeping left-hander right after the hill there. This is not Sonoma grass. This is not Magic Mario Kart boost grass. This is slick grass. You're not going to gain time by putting a wheel on it. Kevin just cuts this apex a little short, You're not going to lose time by doing it. By putting just one wheel up there, it is so easy to get your whole car up there because you're not carrying enough momentum into this turn. This is so tricky right here. This is the part I struggle with a lot, is either not carrying enough momentum and ended up with 2, 3, 4 wheels on the grass right here, or too much momentum and you swing wide and you risk missing the jump. So you want to find that sweet spot. Comes in here, gets it sliding up to 4th, gives some gas, one wheel on the dirt, coming up here, and this jump is a lot like several of the jumps here. This is not just dirt. This is kind of a dirt slash asphalt mixture. So once Kevin gets to the base of this jump, he floors it because he's got the grip. So once he gets to the base of the jump, he floors it, coming up over the jump, cockpit. And then once he's up in the air, a little bit of brake just to bring the nose of the car down. And then he's right back on the gas. You want to hit the bottom of this jump full throttle, as much grip as possible, because this section right here, there's a little bit of section of just dirt right here, but right after is the transition, and you're not going to lose time. You will lose more time by trying to find grip in this little dirt section than you would just keeping it floored. Another thing to notice is that Kevin hits with the back of the car first, just a little bit, and what this does is it helps with gaining momentum as you're hitting, because you're spending less time in the air if you bring the back of the car down first. You're putting tires on the ground sooner. You get going sooner. It's a technique that will shave off hundreds, maybe thousands, but every little bit helps. So he hits with the back first here. He's flooring it. And another interesting part right here you have to keep in mind is I can never find cockpit. There's another little hump right here, and you will catch air going over this. So if you make sure you hit this straight, it's real easy, especially if you let's go back. Especially if you end up going over the grass or swinging out wide, it's really easy to have the car become unstable as you're going over the jump, or as you're in the air, or as you hit. If your car is unstable after the jump, you want to aim for this 3/4 of the track here. Do not hit this hump. If you hit that hump and your car is wiggling just a little bit, catching air like that is going to send you one way or the other. So right here you see Kevo has complete control of the car. He's heading straight over that hump. And there you have it. 45-2. It's a incredibly fun track. Atlanta Long and Atlanta Short are easily my 2 favorite tracks on the circuit, or on the calendar, and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun to find time here. It's definitely a tricky track. Definitely is going to take a lot of practice to get quick here, but 45-2, especially in really hot temperatures, is something to shoot for. For even if you get sub 46 seconds, that's really quick. You're going to be competitive, but just put in lots of practice this week, and I think we'll be good. Let's take a look at the Joker lap now. This one's interesting. With the exception of Lucas Oil, whose Joker is a gift from Satan, this is the most dangerous Joker on the schedule. It's arguably more dangerous than Lucas Oil, because if you make contact with someone while either you or them are taking the Joker, it's not as big a deal. You're both going slow. It's probably going to turn one or both of you. But here, the person taking the Joker is absolutely flying, and the person who is not taking the Joker is not going slow. So if you meet at the Joker exit with someone, it really requires both of you to have full awareness of what's going on. Because of that, you need to be looking at your relative every time you come out of the horseshoe or banked hairpin. Every time you're coming out of it, you need to be looking at your relative and see if someone has got that little blue bar across their name that tells you that they're taking their Joker lap. Because It is so deadly. I've had so many close calls here, but if you both are paying attention and you both know where to put the car and are aware of what's going on, this is like prime nail-biting, clinching up moment in the race. Like, it's so much fun when it happens right, but most of the time if you meet somebody as they're exiting the Joker or as you're exiting the Joker, the other person's not paying attention. So let's go over the Joker. I'm going to run the same line through here. Same line. Keep it tight. Now, only difference is we're turning right, and we are not going to brake at this service road right here. We are going to be going right. Now, these Joker signs right here, pre-new damage model, I don't know what's going to happen with the new damage model, but you can drive right through these. You cannot drive through this tire barrier that you can barely see. So this is going to be your apex right here. You want to get as close to that tire barrier as possible. You see Kevin's almost at full throttle right now. Lets off a little bit, gives it a little bit of brake just to keep the car from sliding too far to the left, because these what would you even call these like steel bases of the Joker lap sign, these hurt. They will destroy your car. So let's take a look at the far chase cam. You see Kevin is driving through these. That is legal. That is fine. You're not going to damage the car. You're not going to get a penalty. Nothing. So he comes through here. Gets real close to that tire barrier. Onto the dirt. Little bit of gas. And as soon as you get the car settled from getting over that curb, because the car will get a little unsettled as you drive over this curb, but as soon as it's settled, pick up the throttle. He is swinging to the left. No, that's the right. I know my left from the right. He's swinging to the right now. A lot of throttle, a lot of throttle. Same thing with these. You can drive right through them, won't get a penalty. This is not an unsafe Joker exit. A lot of throttle, and you want to get real close, just like the normal lap. You want to get real close to this concrete wall right here. And the same thing, you can go full throttle here as you come to the straight, but you have to keep in mind you're carrying a ton more speed right here. Kevin is going almost 100 miles an hour as he's going through here. You are flying. I think the regular lap you're probably going 50 or 60. This is prime passing opportunity right here, but it's also super easy to make a mistake and ruin both of your nights. So comes out here, swings a little ride, correction to the right, and that's it. Another thing to keep in mind is, since you are going so much faster, you want to back up your braking point. Because if you use the same braking point you do in the normal lap, you're going to overshoot it, lock up the tires, bad things are going to happen. So he gets on the brake. This is a little bit before he did in the normal lap. On the brake, he's on the brake a little bit harder. And that's the Joker lap. It's a ton of fun. Hitting that Joker is so satisfying when you figure out how to carry as much speed as possible through there and not end up going through that downhill grass on the right. That Joker lap is intensely satisfying. And that's pretty much it for Atlanta Long. There are a couple things I want to go over real quick about the race in general. I'm sorry for the length of this video. Good Lord, this is going to be really long, but there's a lot to go over at Atlanta Long. It's the longest track on the calendar, but yeah, sorry it's so long. But let's take a look at different race scenarios that you're going to run into. Now, this is your standard 10-car grid format. The dirt that we start on has a ton of grip. It is insane how much grip this dirt has. Now, third place, the Volkswagen, number 4 right there, doesn't have a lot of dirt in front of them. Third place is the worst spot you can start at Atlanta Long or Atlanta Short. You will get passed by half the field before the first turn if they don't blow their starts. Like, that's a fact. First place is okay to start. Second place, not so good. The best place to start is in the back at this track. Fourth maybe the guy who's starting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Those two guys have the best start. They have so much dirt in front of them. You can basically drive this dirt harder than you can asphalt. Regular launches on asphalt, you need throttle control or you're going to spin your tires. Here, you can basically floor it as soon as the light turns green. In first gear in the Fiesta or the Volkswagen, or second gear, or third gear rather, in the Subaru if you're not doing, fancy brake stuff with your launches. But it is insane the start that people on the inside in the second, third, even fourth row, how crazy their start is. Watch this. The guy starting 6th is past me. The guy who started 3rd is now in 5th. And the guy who started in 5th is sitting in 4th on my outside. I started 2nd. I'm sitting in 3rd. It is crazy how these starts go. Now, this first turn right here, because everyone's going different speeds, not everyone is going to be paying attention. It's usually a good idea to take it easy into this first lap. That doesn't always work out, as you're about to find out. Approaching this first corner, patience is key. If you lost a bunch of positions, be patient. You qualified in front of them or you finished ahead of them in the heat, you're capable of passing them again. Everyone needs to be patient in this first corner or else this happens. And that was a relatively painless first corner when it comes to Atlanta Long. The Subaru who got turned got the short end of the stick. You could see another accident happening in front of me. But these first 2 corners before the jump at the start is super important to take it easy and let it play out. If you get turned, try to recover as quickly as you can. If you get contact, try to save it. But the biggest thing right here is that you just don't want to touch anyone this first or second corner. The cars are going to be unstable under heavy braking. Someone's going to get the rear lifted and lose traction, or someone's going to get turned. It's going to be ugly. So patience is key here. And that's Atlanta Long. It's a terrific track. It's loads of fun, but it is not forgiving. So be patient, hit your marks, and I'll see you out on the track.